Shrek. We all know this iconic figure of the modern history. And as an artist, I really wanted to portray this idol. But I specialize in drawing cute girls. And so I thought, what could be better than one iconic figure? It's two iconic figures, combined together and mixed with a bit of cuteness. So today I'm gonna try turning Shrek into the Dimitrescu and make the result look cute. Sure, you can ask me just why, and I can answer that this is how my brain works. I don't know. So after searching many pictures for references, I truly got a clear picture of what I want to create. Some of them were unbelievably inspiring, indeed. And in the end, I've created my own ultimate reference. Perfect. For the very important and complicated artworks, I like to create as complicated and detailed reference as I can, so I could have everything at hand. Now we can get started. I'm starting with a basic sketch of the character and the whole scene. After I've made a super rough sketch, I start adding details to it and trying to define the clear design of our Shrek-trescu, Dimi Shrek, I don't know. Let me know if you have your own version of the name for her. For the face and figure, I try to follow the Lady Dimitrescu look. And to mix her with Shrek, I'm gonna give her the green skin in the future. Basically, I'm gonna color the Lady Dimitrescu green and call her Shrek. I think it's a wonderful plan. And as for the clothes design, I'm combining the two looks together. Luckily, the Shrek skirt is the same color with Lady's dress, so it's very convenient. I'm totally gonna need that iconic Shrek vest. Also, I want to keep Dimitrescu dress. I don't want to turn it into the trousers. But Shrek has these green trousers, and I want to keep that green fabric. So I'm gonna make a dress look like its lower part has been torn off, and it's been replaced with the first fabric that this Lady Shrek could find. But that's gonna be later. I also don't want to get deeper into how bad the idea of wearing this long dress in this kind of toilets. Like, no. I'm really happy with the sketch, so I'm ready to get to the next step. Drawing everything in black and white, because I don't like working in color right away. I'm giving each item its shade of gray and start adding volume and shadows. Right now, everything may look really dark, but I'm gonna change that in the future. Hopefully. Somewhere here, I've realized that Lady looks like she's been on some very effective diet, so I'm totally gonna fix it and make her look more thick. And also editing her silhouette here and there. After that, I'm moving to the poop room. I really love drawing the wood texture, so I'm enjoying this overly time-consuming process. And back to the lady. I guess I just got bored of smelly room and wanted to have a look at Lady Shrek-trescu with fresh eyes. Adding some details and light to the hair. And back to the poop room. And more wooden texture. Once I get bored with drawing just black and white, I move to the color. For that, I use many layers with gradient maps and masks, making this process very long and complicated, but also super fun. Because I can choose any colors I want right now. But I'm gonna keep the original color scheme of the scene and leave the purple Lady Shrek-trescu for some other time. On this step, I also finally draw in the patches on the dress. They are gonna be the reference to the original Shrek trousers, because every detail counts. Gradient map is great for coloring grayscale, but it doesn't give enough color variety. So I create a layer on top, set its blending mode to overlay, and start adding more colors like red for cheeks and hands, blue and purple for the shadows, light brown for the dress and the pooping booth. And finally, I'm happy with the colors, so I move to the deep rendering. I start with the face, as it's my favorite part in the drawing and especially rendering. I start with the eyes and slowly continue cleaning up and drawing everything in no particular order. So it's actually hard for me to explain what I'm doing, just sending some chaotic rendering energy from the screen here. Suddenly, I decide to recolor the Lady Shrek hair, as I wanted them black, but probably forgot about it on the coloring step, or probably I just felt lazy. Moving to the vest. I start with drawing the pattern, those rocky light islands, like many of them. Then some tricky manipulation of a lazy artist, which are too hard to explain fast, so just don't like working hard. Can't work smart either. So I choose lazy, time-consuming chaos. Giving head some volume and details, and tweaking some face features to make her look more grumpy and annoyed. Well, she should be. We've been stalking her outside of the pooping room for several hours now. Then I'm deciding to move to the hands, but realize that I want some proper references, so I take a couple photos of my hands real quick and continue rendering. The hand which is closer to us, I'm rendering nicely. The other one, well, I'm not being really precise with it, because who's gonna look at it anyway? And back to the tiny chaotic face rendering. In this case, I feel the sudden urge to add the drop shadow from her head. After that, I start rendering the wooden door. I always enjoyed drawing wood, it feels quite simple and fun. But then I suddenly realized that it's 2 AM in the morning and I feel tired. And I decide that it should be all for the first day. I feel like the design is missing something, like it doesn't have enough swampiness. So I turn off everything and I'm getting ready to go to sleep. And then I get an idea to put some swamp plants on her hat. So I quickly turn back on everything to sketch a little hat swamp. And I think it made a huge difference. I've been so happy with this idea. I think it added a lot to her look. The next day's start has been chaotic and just everywhere. Finally, I stop jumping from one place to another and end up on the patches. I'm stitching the patches to her dress, really messy and uneven to give it some whatever energy. After finishing patches, I go to one of my favorite moments, drawing iris. I draw a huge iris so I can add tons of little details on it, like that baby texture the irises have. I know I'm gonna need to make it like much smaller in order to fit in the eye, and many details are gonna disappear. But I enjoy this process too much, so meh. At least I'll know that all those details are in there. I'm giving it some light and dark details, adding color variations, and finally it's ready to be put in the eye. I'm blending the iris with the eye and add highlights. I get tired of drawing the Lady Shrek and suddenly remember that I have a pooping booth to render. So I go and do just that. I continue drawing the wood texture on the door. It's super fun. I just take some light brown color and make random or like almost random lines in one direction, and somehow it looks exactly like wood. The result usually looks good, but takes quite a lot of time. In this case, I needed to cover the whole smelly booth with this wood texture. It took me a great amount of time, but I think the result is totally worth it. In the end, I just additionally blend everything together because the details are too bright right now, especially in the shadow areas. I also add a bit of swampiness on top of the poop booth to give it more spice. I should admit, there is one thing I really don't like in this Shrek Dimitrescu idea. It's the background. I hate drawing backgrounds. Cute girls. Yes. Backgrounds. No, thank you. But for art purposes, I'm willing to make such sacrifice. So I'm drawing the background from the original movie scene, at least using it as a very strong reference. Add some details to the booth. I know you can see mostly only my head here, blocking the view. Just hold on a minute once I realize that and move the camera a little. The deeper I go into the finishing steps, the more chaotic I become. I start fixing things all over the place, adding details and shadows, changing colors. This time I suddenly focus on the greenery on the roof of the reeking cabin. I'm trying to give it most texture with some occasional little green mushrooms or long grass. And some of the moss is trying to escape the roof and reaching out to the floor. Now I'm adding some grungy texture on the booth with different light and dark colors and diversifying the wood look by making some stripes darker and some of them lighter. I start with the door and then move to the building. And I just blend everything together just a bit. Now I add some backlight to the Lady Shrek, especially in the areas where I feel like she's blending with the background too much. As you can see, I still haven't realized that I'm blocking the view sometimes. Finally, I'm rendering the patches on her dress with the Shrek pants pattern. And it's time to render the moss on her hat. I had to replace this part of the footage with screen recording as my hat totally blocked everything. I'm making it fluffy and mushy, with some of the moss hanging from hat like it's been there forever. And like with the roof of the poopy booth, I'm adding random tiny mushrooms and long grass to give it some spice. Adding grungy, dirty texture to the dress, as I think it's really hard to keep a dress super clean living in a swamp. I'm also giving her some freckles, same as Shrek has on top of his head. And rendering the lips. As with the eyes, I like to go very extra with them, and making lips look like orange slices a little. Some more details on the hair, making them look more messy and natural. Tidying up the door a bit. As I'm a really lazy potato, I'm duplicating the door of the poop room and patching up the signs of the moon hole on the door. Then I'm trimming all the extra stuff I don't need. Changing the form of this wood piece using Liquify tool and just transforming it until I like the form. I'm duplicating this part of this board again and transforming it into a long stick. Now I'm adding the green texture to the edges of the board to make it look really old and wet, making room for the future warning, and adding the iconic warning sign, but with a tiny adjustments. Blending it with a wooden plate to make it look like a paint, using different blending modes of the layer, and back to the duplicating the wooden plate and transforming it into the next sign. Changing the color and rotating it is enough to make it look like a completely different sign. And that's been all for the second day. After that, I've been coming back to the artwork for a couple times to give it some finishing touches, so I'm ready to share with you the final result. For the final reveal, I wanted to do a little thing, but because of the copyright thing, I have to do a bit different thing. Just give me a second. I'm gonna need my $20 plastic ukulele for that. Okay, you got me, it's $18. And I just want to apologize in advance, and it's time for the final reveal. Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. She was looking kinda dumb with a finger and a thumb in the shape holding out on her forehead. Hey now, you're an all-star, get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star, get the show on, get paid. And all that glitter is gold, only shooting stars break the mold. Well, it's been the final result. Well, I totally made some adjustment before the final reveal. I've added a couple of Resident Evil references in there. Let me know if you found them all in the comments. Biohazard sign on the door, because it probably is. The key from the second part. The wooden sign with the yellow tape from the second part remake, because I really loved it. The Umbrella Corporation logo scratched on the back of the toilet. Looks like somebody had to spend quite a lot of time in there and got bored. And of course, Ethan made sure to let us know that he's been here. It's so low because the lady is kind of like big, and the Ethan, well, it's not so big, so... oh, you get it. And I've also created a couple of frames with eyes half closed and totally closed to make Lady Dimitrescu blink for the animation. So her eyes won't get dry now. Then I've added some After Effects magic, and that's all. This artwork is actually wallpaper. You can download it for free on my Patreon. I'm gonna leave a link to it in the description. If you want to support me to do more of this kind of content, and also to get an access to all of my poses references and step-by-step tutorials, consider supporting me on Patreon.
Thank you for your patronage!
Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this video. I wanted to do a thing, so I did it. Let me know if you like it. Thank you so much for watching, have an awesome day, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Have you ever been in one of those booths, toilets, outside? Because I have. This is actually how I feel every time I visit my grandma in the village. I'm like, fresh air! But that's, well, like, another story. And to mix her with Shrek, I'm gonna give her the green screen in a skin. Green skin. Green skin. Also, you can see that I'm enjoying this little thing. Just look at that, look at that. Thank you for your attention. Yes, it's also said like Da Vinci. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly. So it's like foreign artists. Get it? Get it? Especially if you're an artist. Because you create art. That is plastic too. And that is plastic. This one is wood, I guess. Oh, and here is the wood. But everything else is like plastic.
So we finally meet.